Now, there's nothing worse in the long run than someone who's emotionally needy all the time. And we all just have to step up. We all have to learn to love ourselves and be proud of ourselves. We cannot turn for external validation for that. It's not a good look, man. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Relationship Theory. I'm your co-host, Tom Bilyeu, and I am here with the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life, Elizabeth Bilyeu.
Sup, Bilyeu?
What's up, homie? But we've got some questions that you guys have sent in, and we're gonna dive right into the ones around comparison.
Yeah, let's dive right in. All right. This is from Liz Artis. My boyfriend and I were in the throes of power couple love. However, we recently ended up going our separate ways amicably. I am already an accomplished, driven, and vibrant individual, but perpetually seeking growth. I'm looking to better myself for myself, whilst also working on aspects that need to be improved upon in order to bring the best version of myself to the table in the next relationship. Looking back, I believe the feeling of inferiority in intelligence, being interesting, and speaking well really gets in the way of me enjoying any relationship to the fullest. I know that by seeking improvement individually and for my own satisfaction is the way to get around this, but how do you stop the comparison? How do you stop imagining your partner's negative perception of you? It's so easy to fabricate judgmental thoughts that your significant other has about you, which in reality they probably aren't even remotely thinking about.
Yeah, so this goes back to you have to pattern interrupt. So she's got a negative voice in her head that is so paranoid and so convinced that she's not worthy, not good enough, etc. Some very deep-seated insecurity that I'm gonna guess goes back to some earlier trauma, possibly from childhood. So that is really critical for her to understand the driver, like where this is coming from, to do that work, and then to not allow herself to project onto that. And if you have open communication with the person, and this is where honesty comes in, it's like you've got to be honest with the other person at the most difficult times. And the reason is for those moments when the other person is just being insecure and they need reassurance, the only way it will work is if they know they're going to get the truth no matter what. And for someone with a growth mindset, it's absolutely fine. It's like, if I'm not looking good, if I'm not sounding good, if I'm not whatever, I know I can change those things. So I just want to know, like, where are you at really? Now, there's nothing worse in the long run than someone who's emotionally needy all the time. And we all just have to step up. We all have to learn to love ourselves and be proud of ourselves. We cannot turn for external validation for that. It's not a good look, man. It's not fun to be with somebody who needs it all the time. We all need it from time to time.
I was about to say, like,
1,000%.
Yeah.
But you can't be on it daily.
Yes.
You can't be like, affirm me, affirm me, affirm me. Like, you have to find that within yourself. Now, it's nice to be able to know, whoa, in the times where the wave really hits me and I just need to know, like, hey, is this really adding value, to put it in my own language, what I'm doing, or is it working? Is this popping, my writing, whatever. But to not come from a place of like, I can't find in myself that the majority of the time. Sometimes, sure, you can ask. But in those moments, you need to know that whatever they say is true. So that means you have to be willing to accept it, because sometimes it's not going to be what you want to hear.
And we learn the lessons, right? So if you're testing the waters and someone's real with you and you don't react well, they're not going to be real with you the next time.
Correct.
Because they've just seen how you've reacted.
Correct.
So if you actually want the honesty, you have to hold up your end of the bargain and basically respond in a way that is encouraging that person to come back to you next time and be honest with you again.
Correct. And the only way to get to that is to actually value truth.
Right.
Like, you actually have to value it. You have to want it. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy to hear, but you have to want it. You have to have a value system that says, this bit of truth is going to be so useful that the scales have been removed from my eyes and I'm able to actually see things clearly and now act in a way that allows me to get where I really want to go, whether that's a better relationship, to get better in my job, to be a more skilled lover, like whatever. But you actively have to seek the truth, and then you have to receive the truth, to your point. And if you say anything other than, with sincerity, thank you for telling me the truth, you are fucked. Because like you said, they're going to go underground. You can't punish somebody relentlessly and expect them to keep going.
Yeah. And in comparing the the intelligence thing I really want to touch on because I struggled with that as well. So growing up, I was the artistic one in the family, and my brother and sister were like just amazing at math. And so we would sit there sometimes on the weekends, and my dad would like throw out equations, and they'd be like, all right, Lisa, so what's this? And I'd be like, oh. And the panic obviously made me freeze. And then the fact that I wasn't as good as my brothers and sisters made me very much believe that I wasn't good at academics at all. Right. So I absolutely felt like I was extremely inferior to intelligence of my family. And then when I met you, you were so complimentary about my art that I actually started to focus on actually like doing math isn't necessarily the be all and end all, especially because I want to be a mathematician.
Right.
So I started to focus on that, but the more we were together, like you are extremely, I don't want to say smart because I know how you feel about that word. You are self-taught, you read all the freaking time, so I don't want to take anything away from you. Let's just start there. But you are, like you understand things on a much higher level than I do. And if I really focused and really spent a lot of time, I could get there. Like I don't think that I'm incapable, but it's not easy for me. And as we started to get into business and, seeing you run Quest and just like how much you grew and changed, I started to feel actually more inferior because I was like, shit, like now you're accelerating way faster than I am. And I realized that ended up being very detrimental to my own psyche because you're now not looking at the things that you could improve on, right? It's just a comparison. He's good, I'm not. And then also like, I'm so happy for you. Like, I'm so happy that you're learning. I'm so happy that you're growing as quickly as you are. And like, if I can just flip it for a second and be like, man, he's motivating me and pushing me to want to get better. And so now I'm just focusing on like how much you're driving me to get better, then the comparison of like where you are and then where I am. And then also just going like, well, shit, Lisa, you're great at things that he's not great at. So like, instead of focusing on the things that you're better at, like remind myself every so often, like, pick up a pencil and draw, see what you got, but like making sure that you don't focus on that one thing that you're insecure about. It's like, look at the entire thing. And then you can really like now, especially being in business together, it's like, man, it's amazing because my weaknesses you're strong at. And that makes for an amazing business partner and vice versa. And even in our personal, in our marriage, there are things that you're better at dealing with. So for instance, the other day, and this was a bit of a wuss of me, but the other day our puppy brought in a dead bird and I'm drawing and I'm oblivious to it and it's freaking gnawing on this dead bird on our rug. And you come in and you're just like, what's happening? And I'm like, I don't know. And I stood up and I was such a woman. You know what I mean by that. I was like, I can't look. Oh my God, I feel nauseous. I can't. And it's like, I want you to be brave in those moments that I'm not. And I was very happy with you being way more brave than I was so that you could clear up that dead bird. That's a silly example, but like, there are things that you can use as like, see, he saved me from the dead bird.
Now let's really make it complicated.
Yeah.
What happens when somebody's really good at something that you want to be really good at?
And you talk a lot about this, is slip into the student mentality. They're about to teach me something. I'm about to get so freaking good that no one can take it away from me. And here's the key. And I did that with you with the speaking. So people may know that I've been asked to do a TEDx and I'm petrified. And I was just like, oh shit, my husband is like in my opinion, the best in the world at it. So like, instead of being like, I got this, like, I can handle it. I'm just like, I need you. And I was like, I send you texts like, I need to book time with you. I want to be the student. I'm going to sit there with a recording device. And it was just like, I can look at your speaking and make myself feel badly that I'm so not even close to being as good as you are. Or I can say, this is the best fucking thing because I have access and I can learn and I can become the best by being next to the best and being taught by the best. And it just switches your mind. There's no ego now involved at all.
I'm going to drag us into a hole.
Okay.
And then I'm going to see if I can get us back out. I'm not sure I can actually. But this is really interesting to me. So there's a movie called Amadeus about Mozart, Amadeus, Amadeus, Mozart, whichever it is. I actually don't know right now.
Amadeus Mozart, I think.
Yeah, right?
I think so.
Anyway, whichever it is. And Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, there it is. That's his name. And the other character in the movie is a guy named Salieri, who's a real person, by the way, a real composer. And growing up, I identified as Salieri. And I actually still get flashes of this sometimes, where what made Salieri the tragic character that he was, and they show this in the movie, Salieri plays like these really beautiful songs. He's playing them to somebody. He says, do you recognize the song? And he plays it, and they're like, no, I'm so sorry, I don't recognize it. How about this one? He plays another one. They're his songs. The person's like, I'm so sorry, I don't recognize that. And then he plays a Mozart song. They're like, oh, I know that one. And he's like, exactly, that's Mozart. And he was like, I'm just good enough to realize I'll never be Mozart. And I was like, God. Like, you want to talk about my nightmare. Like, all of the things that I tell people, like, you can do anything on a long enough timeline. Like, it can be yours. You can build this skill set. Yeah. And then I'm watching this movie. Well, this is out of order. This is back when I had a fixed mindset. And I was like, oh my God, I'm Salieri. Because I've always felt just smart enough to realize I'm not that smart.
So what would you do if it was in a relationship and there's something that you were like, I want to get that good at it. And you, let's say I was better.
Ready? So we're deep in the hole now, right?
Yes.
We can agree
Yes.
that there are probably some things. I always say you can get good at anything you set your mind to without limitation.
Yeah.
That's a lie. But do and believe that which moves you towards your goals.
Right.
I think the only real answer is, if the only reason you're doing it is to be the best, you're going to be miserable. If you don't love the process in and of itself, don't do it. Don't go down the road. If you're one of those people, like this happens with athletes. In fact, the Breakfast Club, one of the most powerful moments in the Breakfast Club is when the kid is like, I'm a wrestler, I'm a state champion, whatever. And every time I'm on the mat, I hope my knee blows out so that I never have to wrestle again. So that people will stop expecting me to win. And it's like, that's what happens when you're not in love with the process. It was like me trying to get rich. And all I was focused on was the outcome. I wasn't thinking about, today I have the opportunity to impact somebody. I have the chance to like get better and get so good that I can help somebody else. And that's going to make me feel rad. Because one, I just value the skill set in and of itself. And two, it also allows me to help other people. Like, fuck, that's amazing. And so even if I never become the greatest of all time, it's rad to have the North Star. Like, it's rad to want to be the next Mozart. It's rad to look at him and be like, fuck, I'm coming for you, man. I'm going to get you. But like, you need to know deep down, if you never make it to that, that you should A, enjoy it, and B, still love his music. Like, if you can't be like, fuck, that's so inspiring to me. Like, I'm so amped by that. Like, for instance, really, truly, I wish I could draw. Like, I know I say it in a way that makes it sound tongue-in-cheek. Fucking for real. You can't imagine how much I would give up to have that ability that some people have where they can just imagine something and draw it. Like, it's so crazy. The amount of time that I spend on like Pinterest looking for stuff for the comic book that we're doing, I'm like, none of it is sexual, but it's still erotic for me. That's how much I love like art, and I wish that I could create it like that. And when I look at that and think, all right, if I went down that road, because I could get a lot better than I am today. Maybe I'd never be able to be the greatest of all time, but I could get a lot better than I am today. And going down that path, I would need to really love it.
So that you didn't get emotionally damaged if you weren't ever as good as your partner. I just want to bring it back around to like partners comparing themselves to each other.
For sure.